We have patiently been waiting and waiting and waiting for the day that the Fed officially cuts rates. Now, in this video, we are going to be talking about the Fed cutting rates, but on top of that, we are going to be talking about what's going to be happening over the next 24 hours. Because again, we have some pretty big events upcoming, and basically the biggest one is what happens today, tomorrow, however you want to look at this, and we have to address it. So let's first start off with just looking at the market itself. So the market itself has been selling off quite a bit over the last couple of days, and we have been putting a spotlight on this. It really started over the weekend, and then it exaggerated a little bit in the start of the week. And today, well, we're still in a sea of red on the daily and also on the weekly, and even on the monthly, with some of these altcoins down 20+%, XRP down 18.6%, QNT matching that at 18.6%, XLM down 16.9%, Algo down 15.4%, HBAR 12.1%, and the rest goes on and on, of course. But the main thing that we're watching here is Bitcoin, Ethereum. These are the two main ones that I'm eyeing because we still need to see them both reclaim some strength here before we can even talk about the price action on XRP. And yes, don't worry, we are still focused on the price action of XRP. It's not like we're ignoring it, but it's mainly the fact that we need Bitcoin and Ethereum to regain some momentum in order for the rest of the market to really start to see that big bounce as well. Now, again, if we're thinking about this, we're obviously thinking about the factors that can really, I would say become a catalyst, right? Like the main thing that we are looking at here is some sort of catalyst that, impulses us out of the lows. The Fed could be that catalyst, and we're going to address that in this video. But first, let's take a quick look at the overall market. Taking a quick look at the overall market, we are at $3.85 trillion in market cap, and we can see that the fear and greed is around 46. We are still in fearful levels going off the Bitcoin fear and greed index. In terms of stocks, it's about roughly neutral, trying to get into that fearful level. But for the most part, like I said, the market itself is telling us that we're not really bullish, we're not really bearish, and I would agree because, again, we haven't lost any significant support on Bitcoin or even on Ethereum to highlight like a growing bearish sentiment, and we're not really in bullish territory either. We're in neutral territory, currently speaking, on the charts. But just looking at the market here, Bitcoin hovering around 113K, Ethereum around 42, almost 4,300, XRP at $2.85. Most of the market is still selling off. Most of the market is still pretty weak. And we're looking at any major factor that can change this. The Fed, as I said, is probably going to be a big focus going into later today. Now, before we do continue, I just want to quickly say, if you guys do want to tap into a crypto-based IRA or a premium custody account, ITrustCapital is the real deal. I've been following ITrustCapital for years. This is one of the best platforms to tap into, especially if you do buy and sell crypto, or if you want to buy crypto and stockpile it into a tax-advantaged crypto IRA platform. ITrustCapital is there, and it's probably going to be your best friend for a lot of these great things that you want to do with crypto. Even if you want to buy and sell metals, you could also do that on ITrustCapital. If you utilize my link and if you deposit up to $1,000, you can get an exclusive $100 funding bonus today utilizing my promo code and my link down in the description below. So what are you doing? What are you waiting for? Go and tap in. You won't regret it. Now, with that in mind, let's dive on back into, Bitcoin. Looking at Bitcoin today on the 7-day, we're not dead set here. I'm not sold on us being bottomed out yet. The biggest thing that I'm looking here at on Bitcoin is for us to maintain daily closes over 112.4K. This is very important. This is going to be our main level to focus on because this is that floor that we formed back in the beginning of August. Now, what do we want to see over the next couple of days? Well, we want to see these previous highs being broken on the daily closes, just going off the 20th and the 21st. But flipping those levels from the beginning of August around 115K will be a very, very big signal that we are bottomed out on this move, and we should be targeting 117.5K next. This will be that midline flip that we must get for us to retarget 120K and then $124,000. I'm going off of the wick here, not the high here, but on the high, we need a daily close over 123.3K roughly. So Bitcoin, main factor today, for the bottom to be confirmed in, we need to flip the high of 115K, target 117.5K over the coming days. The weekly close, on the weekly close, and this could be the day that we see this, right? And I'm talking about Sunday, not today or tomorrow. What we want to see here is a reclaim of 117.5K. Technically, it's 117.3K. And then a break above 119.4K. If we close above 120K to close out the week, which is 2 days, 21 hours, it can be possible. Then the bottom is 100% in, and we should be targeting $130,000 next. But I do think that this takes some time, and I honestly think that this takes us into next week if we really want to confirm the bottom being in on Bitcoin. But like I said, the Fed is the main focus today. For Ethereum, Ethereum is really kind of just following Bitcoin. We are having a slight higher low here. We need to create a higher high. So, breaking over and getting a 4-hour close over like $4,400 will be a very good start. Then we could target those highs from the 17th around like 4,600 or so. And that would lead us into retesting some of these prior highs from the middle of the month. XRP is just chopping in this range. We are not going to see any crazy price action on XRP until we actually see Bitcoin and or Ethereum start to rebound in a big way and break out. But the reason why we are watching the Fed today is because we have a very big speech coming up with Powell today. This is Fed Chair Jerome Powell will deliver a major Jackson Hole speech tomorrow, aka today. He's set to address the U.S. economic outlook, tariffs, and the Fed's next move, all while facing pressure for a rate cut. Markets will be watching closely. And yes, the markets will be watching very close. Currently speaking, retail believes that there's only a 57% chance of the Fed cutting rates in September. Even if we don't get a rate cut in September, the markets will not care. The markets haven't cared at all so far in 2025, and the markets still performed. But the Fed cutting rates will be a very big catalyst for price action. I also think that this speech today will be a very big catalyst because it's going to give the markets what they want. A little bit of an insight into what the Fed's next move will be, which will change the odds of us getting a rate cut or not. Currently, if we're going over to CME Group, which I personally like to utilize this site for anything around Fed rate cut probabilities, currently 75.3% chance of a rate cut in September. October is still roughly around the 88% level at 87.5%. And then December is a 96.7% chance. These odds change drastically as we do get closer to those dates. But again, today's speech with Jerome Powell will be a very big signal of what's to come at this September 17th FOMC meeting with the Fed. We're still some time out from this, but we're still waiting on this. We're still watching for this because, again, whatever the Fed does and whatever the Fed decides can change the markets drastically. So we need to be locked in on this. Outside of this, though, we also have over here, and this is exactly why the Fed cutting rates is important. We have when the Fed cuts interest rates within 2% of stock market all-time highs. The S&P 500 has gone on to finish higher over the next 12 months. 20 out of 20 times, 100% hit rate. Big shout out to bar chart for this as well. Here we actually have the full breakdown of this. Let me open this up in a new tab real quick. So we could see here, yes, the Fed has cut near all-time highs and the bulls loved it. So we could see here going all the way back to 1980. Let's just go back to 2024. Okay, November 7th. We could see here percentage away from all-time high day before Fed cut. Now, this was a 0%. Next month, 1.3%. Next 3 months, 1.6%. Next 6 months, 1.4% down. Next year, we have no idea. But the average here in terms of next month is about 0.1%. The next 3 months is about 2.3%. Next 6 months is about 3.4%. And then the next year is 13.9%. The median is 0.4, 3.3, 5.5, 9.8. and percentage higher, 50%, 77.3%, 72.7%, and 100% for the next year. Just going off of this, the bulls will love the Fed cutting rates. And why wouldn't they? Right? Lower interest rates on money being borrowed, loaned. Guess what that means? Fresh liquidity entering markets. You know, this would cause a surge across the board for a lot of markets, including real estate, which currently is struggling. And Wall Street, they watch real estate. Wall Street affects most of these markets. So things are kind of getting stalled out a bit. The Fed cutting rates will cause a huge boom across the board. So this is why we're so focused on the Fed cutting rates at this point. But also, let's talk about the speech, because the speech is very important, and we do have a breakdown of just how the stock market has performed around Jerome Powell's recent Jackson Hole speeches. This is from TrendSpider. Here we have the percentages 5 days before, negative 1.05%. That's going off of today's date. 2024, 5 days before, 1.05%. 2023, negative 0.65%. 2022, negative 2.03%. 2021, negative 0.58%. 2020, plus 0.72%. So again, on average here, if we're looking at this, it hasn't been positive 5 days before, and it isn't this time around. The day of the speech, most of the gains here have been pretty positive for the days, except for 2022 and 2023. 2022, we were in the middle of a bear market, so negative 3.37%. Makes sense. 2023, about 0.14%, so not a big change, not a big drop at all. One day after, though, we have some positive gains, 4 out of 5. The only time that we did drop was 2024 with a negative 0.13%. Again, not much of a difference. 5 days after, it's pretty much negative throughout the months, or I should say the speeches. So if we're thinking about this, what are we looking at? Well, initially, we probably don't see anything crazy in terms of moves. Wait a little bit after the speech to see how the markets react. I would say if this speech is going to be positive, if we're going to start to see, the Fed starting to shift a bit, then the market should act as if we should be getting a rate cut in September, which means we should be starting to move to the upside. But it all depends on what Jerome Powell is going to say, what he's going to, act like that day. Because again, if he's starting to, show us a little bit of panic or, even some concern, he has no thought process on cutting rates at all. And if he's still worried about tariffs and inflation, then the markets are going to be a little bit concerned. So we'll probably drop into September. Then in September, we start the rebound. Towards the end of the month, after the FOMC meeting, we should get the Fed rate cut. The market should be expanding to the upside towards the end of September into October. And no, that's not me pushing things ahead again or saying, oh yeah, next month or that month or no. Listen, the market's bottomed in April. I am dead set on that. I still think that we have a lot higher to go going forward. This is like lower time frame trading here. This is lower time frame price action. And currently speaking with the S&P, this is what the 4-hour looks like on the S&P. We wicked down into this nice gap. We filled it completely on the Wednesday candle. And now we're just waiting to see if we are going to maintain these lows and start to break back to the upside. The main thing that I'm looking at and the main thing that I'm watching for is us to just regain some momentum and start to flip some of these levels. The first major level that I would love for us to flip is about 6,400. After that, we should start to see strength regained on the S&P, and we should see continuation to the upside. So we're just watching, waiting, and seeing. Price data and price action are going to be so crucial to go off of this upcoming week. Into the weekend, well, we already know what to expect. We should be seeing some manipulation of the market. But depending on how things look going into the weekend, that's going to tell us the story. So tomorrow we should have a lot more price data, price action to go off of, especially with this, speech. We should see a little bit more of an insight on what the Fed is planning, what they want to do. So tomorrow, aka today, is going to be a big day to listen into the speech and see what Jerome Powell tells us and gives us. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.